Welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video is going to be a little bit more somber in its mood. I'm going to pose the question right out of the gate here. What would you do if your prognosis was 6 weeks? If you were told you had at most 6 weeks left to live, what would that feel like for you? How would you react? What changes would you make, if any? What preparations were you not ready for that all of a sudden you realize you've got to scramble and take care of? If I ask myself that same question, I'm not really sure how I would handle it. I don't know. I have been asking myself that same question. That's why I'm doing this video. Uh, Over the last several weeks, well, last probably year and a half or so, a acquaintance of mine, family friend from my previous marriage, uh, has been battling cancer. She has gone through a significant amount of issues with cancer and battled all fronts where it metastasized. And by all accounts, over the last 6 months or so, I believe, she's been relatively, as I understood it, cancer free. A lot of positive feelings about beating something that really didn't look so good. I don't know what your experiences are with cancer and the journey. I've seen a lot of people go through that, and they have, there's a real high to feel like you've beaten it and got on the other side. And, my experience is that there's always going to be, another battle ahead of you if cancer is part of your life. That's why prevention of cancer and lifestyles that, can clearly cause that. It's a good idea to have good practices in avoiding it, because it does seem to be something that just is, um, from my estimation, impossible to beat. I've known a lot of people that have had cancer that have lived a long time. I mean, I've known friends that have lived a decade with it and battled, different types of cancers like multiple myeloma, blood cancer. I've known a friend of mine that has secretly battled that for a ton of years and still healthy and doing well. But it really depends, and resources depend. Your doctors involved is depends. But in this situation, she was receiving solid care, had good support around her, and looked like things were going well. A couple weeks ago, she started noticing, I guess, some blurred vision, some confusion, and some other things going on. I don't know all the symptoms that were there because it wasn't that close to what she was experiencing, but it was becoming more noticeable and something that had to be addressed. So she went back to her doctors and had some tests run, and those tests came back in a troubling way. And so they did some more work, and come to find out, they initially had thought that she would be here about another 6 months. Through that was the initial assessment as of about a week and a half ago, probably. As of today, it appears it's about 6 weeks max. So how do we live life with 6 weeks left to live? I think we got to zoom out from it a little bit. And I don't know how she's feeling. I'm sure fear is there, sadness, those types of things are all there. Sadness, certainly, for the family around. I feel sad about the situation for sure. But, what do we do with these types of things? Because it seems like when we're faced with these types of diagnosis and prognosis, we don't really know what to do every single time. It's like we are the one that's not going to have it happen, where it won't happen to us, but very likely could happen to us. So what do we do in the meantime? I think there's a few things that have become cliche. This idea of living every day to the fullest. Carpe diem, seize the day. We have become so cliche about those statements. We don't actually live that way. I'm as guilty as anybody. I push off and procrastinate days of fulfillment based on any number of noble or just plain excuses that cause me to waste a lot of time. I'm not saying every day should be high octane, but there certainly is a lot of opportunity to live life a lot more full. If you knew that you were eventually going to be faced with a 6-week diagnosis, if you knew at some point in your life a doctor was going to come to you and say, you've got 6 weeks left to live, how different would today be for you, not having that diagnosis yet? I know for me, and the nature and this video, what I'm hoping to do is have us all get on that page to say that I think about things a lot differently after today. I start to recognize that my plans for a very lofty future and these ideas and books coming, and my book that's almost done, and this show, and things for my family around colleges and everything else, and all this stuff is all future, and it's great to plan for those, and those are all good things. I'm not saying get rid of your future, but at some point you've got to live for today and enjoy what's here. um, and I'm not also not suggesting some kind of a hedonistic approach to it and just say do whatever the heck you want to do. No, I believe there's fulfillment in living your life in a way that is provides safety and comfort for your family, and you love them, and they feel that love, and you're giving to people that are desperately are needing hope and light, at the same time standing on who you are and be an example and a legacy for others so they can see how to live. I don't believe that giving always is about your hand reaching out to somebody. I think sometimes it's just standing on your own merits and saying, look, I believe in what I believe in. I'm going to stand and fight right here in my position. If I'm doing it alone, I'm doing it alone. If I got a tribe around me, great, but I'll do it alone. That legacy is also something that I could personally choose to give back to my family. At the same time, it doesn't require me to have to live so far in the future. I can just be Chris today. As I've said on the show before, if I'm Chris everywhere, I should be Chris in moments during each day. And I have not been that. I've not lived that way. I think it's real easy for me to get caught in 2017 being homeless. And honestly, this cold that we've been experiencing here in Western New York has been really, real triggering, in that it takes me back to some places that were incredibly unpleasant in February 2017. So I now look and say, okay, back then I was hopeless and just really just feeling death in each moment. However, once I started to get hope and light and see what it is, I would grind each day, and then there was a season in my life where I really did appreciate each day, and I've let that slide for sure. And it always seems to happen when things are really starting to get better. As things start to get better, things get easier, and we forget what life was like when it wasn't so easy. So the situation that I'm sharing with you, it is sad, and there's really, I don't know what to offer this person struggling, except for support, and support for her family, and to have her know that her family is going to be cared for when she's gone, by those around her. To um, for me, from a spiritual perspective, offer what I can offer based on my belief system, for her to understand how I believe, and if that's something that she finds comfort in, great. If she doesn't, that's her choice. What it did do for me, though, and I would encourage you all to consider this as well. What does tomorrow morning look like? What does the rest of today look like for you? Are you actually living in today's moment and actually taking in the blessings and the gifts that we have? So many of us have come from such desperate situations. I come on here and I'm not coming on as an expert of all things tragic. I was a knucklehead and burned my life to the ground. I earned all the trauma and disaster that I caused for myself in my life. I made that scene. And I allowed myself to ruin days and years and life for myself and others based on my behavior. So, how much more so should I, on this side of it, be light and hope and strength and a standard and a legacy for those while I'm on the other side and on the come up? Man, we've all got some blessings in our life we can look to. We've all got something. Now, here on Chris and Retro, we look back at some of our dark seasons and some of the crap we pulled. I know for me, I don't really give myself a lot of sympathy for the nonsense I pulled. I was just a complete waste of space the way I was handling things. And, where I'm at now, I choose not to be that way. But, you get a little emotional, a little crazy, and stuff goes nuts. But there's others that have had situations that really weren't their fault, and they're dealing with it. And, in this case, this cancer diagnosis, I would think it'd be pretty heartless to say that was somebody's fault. Guys, I hope that this is something that caused you to pause and think. The encouragement, I guess, out of this that I would say is that for those of us that have not received those diagnoses and we've not had that, pending doom, so to speak, it's not real. Let's take our life and take what we can do today and actually live it fullest, invest in others. Man, for my friends out there, and I have a small circle of friends that I would truly consider friends. I love you, and I've got your back. For my family, I'd die for you in a drop of a hat. Um, That's where I stand. And so that means that every single day I should be investing in those people, as well as my new audience and the people that I'm now connecting with through the show, to offer something based on what I'm seeing as I journey this life with you. I'm a fellow traveler. I'm not an expert. I'm not a counselor. A lot of stuff I say on here, you may not agree with. I still stand on it because it's based on experiences and things that I've learned based on my life and my one perspective on it and what I know to be true based on what I've seen and what I've felt and what I've dealt with. I'm hoping that some of you may have had a similar journey, and maybe some of the stuff I'm sharing with you will help you. If you're struggling tonight, especially with addiction, if you're having an addiction issue tonight and you're slipping, let's say that you had a season of sobriety and you're slipping, hang on tight, because you know what? Today could be the day that you actually make that turn. You might not force your family and kids to go to a funeral because tonight you gave in. These moments, these crossroads that we face, we still have choices to live. My family member has 6 weeks. Maybe we have days and hours, or maybe we have years. Let's not roll the dice with that, with addiction or any other thing. So today, live and make sure that you're finding fulfillment in every moment that you can possibly glean, because life is short. Even if we live our full 75 years, in the grand scheme of things, that's really not a long time. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope this video is at least something you could contemplate. Perhaps it's not all that encouraging, but at least contemplate, where your standing is, what your thought process is. Don't wait till you got a 6 weeks diagnosis, then look back retrospectively and wish you'd done all these things. Seize it now, go forward, grab what you're going to do, and go take your space. Come for everything they said you couldn't have. Take it, as the banner up here says. Guys, thanks for the support of the show. Please like, subscribe, comment on this channel if you want. Also, in the description, I'll share a GoFundMe link for the family. I guess they've got a GoFundMe up because she's not well off, and there's going to be some significant expenses that are going to be coming up. So I'll have a GoFundMe link in there. If you feel so, called to do it, feel free. If you don't, it's no obligation. I just appreciate you guys being willing to support the channel, observe what we're doing, spread the word. We really want to continue to grow. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great evening.